What's good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I want to have a conversation about No Fugazee podcast. He's getting a little bit more attention than what he initially thought he would be getting. And he's getting this attention from other YouTubers, guys who are now in the Red Pill community. Now, he had a debate with a guy in the Red Pill community. The guy is named Yada, okay? So they debated Yada. And so what happened with the Yada guy was that basically Coach Greg Adams thought both of these guys are, I don't know if he called them bozos or if he called them clowns, but he was roasting both of them up. And it was hilarious. And you guys know that me and Coach Greg Adams had a little bit of back and forth before, but that's not important for this video. He's doing his thing and all that, and I don't have an issue with him. But he was calling the guys bozos, okay? And he starts off describing each guy. Let's first start with Yada.
Awakening, known for a guy that says a woman shouldn't lift a finger, they should have an allowance, he puts their properties in his name, and so forth and so on. Really pandering conversations, kind of the next Derek Jackson type stuff. He's the one in the suit, and he also has allegedly been exposed for domestic violation, including throwing a weight plate at one of his wives. He also is non-monogamous.
Now, let us start what he had to say about Cooley.
Now, you also have Cooley, who's been exposed for saying single mothers are recreational use only to be found after time by people who weren't aware that he was married to a single mother. Not only a single mother, but a white woman.
Where the white women at?
All right.
So those are the introductions. And if you watch his video, it's two corny ninjas debate on modern relationships. And he was really on point. Again, things that Coach Greg Adams teaches, I'm not really so against many of them that I've heard him talk about. And one of the things that was an issue was Yada was talking about, if you marry a woman, you need to pick the right woman because God is so important in marriage. And as much as I am a person that is of faith, again, that, I grew up in the church, and I do believe that religion plays a role in the family structure and things like that. Coach Greg Adams is right when he says that God is not in marriage in the United States, okay? When it comes to go to the court, you're not bringing God in it. You're not using the Bible to do any of these laws or any of that. And I just think that that's a point that's so true because you've seen pastors, wives fall for divorce and they get divorced and it's a big mess. I mean, if you guys remember a long time ago, it was Bishop Weeks and Juanita Bynum. That was a big thing. And both of them was pastors. And in a religious setting, they made money together in a religious setting. And Thomas Weeks allegedly beat on Juanita Bynum. And when, both of them were talking about what they were saying about how important religion was, one thing that was true is when the court came out and talked about what was going on in that marriage, nothing was biblical, okay? But here's something that I noticed that Coach Greg Adams was doing when referring to No Fugazee.
But Cooley probably is one of these red pill guys that says, I don't know who CGA is. Like a lot of these guys get an audience overnight and then they act like they don't know who I am. All right, Ninja, I'm on here with almost 3,000 people watching me. And I know you can't pull a cool 1,000 on a consistent basis. You got to know I'm live and you got to know I'm here or else you ain't red pill.
Now, here's what I'm going to have a little bit of an issue with. Coach Greg Adams sounds a little salty here. I'm going to tell you why. Coach Greg Adams says, you see these guys build a following overnight and they forget about me and all of this and that. And, he throws some shots and you can't get these many people that's streaming in this amount of time. And for me, like I said, I have no problem with, younger guys getting in the game. Guys are going to pass you up. Guys are going to come in and figure it out. And I think what Greg Adams just hasn't done in his own particular content is, it's his strategy. Coach Greg Adams, in my honest opinion, doesn't do a lot of investing in this business, okay? And when he talks about guys building a platform overnight, like a guy like No Fugazee, well, No Fugazee is also more on Instagram than Coach Greg Adams. He's on TikTok. He's on Facebook. I think that Coach Greg Adams might be demonetized here on YouTube. I'm not sure. And then Coach Greg Adams is not as visible anymore. And again, it's kind of like, don't get me wrong, he has some good things to say, but I mean, you're streaming, 4 hours a day or 5 hours a day or something like that. And unfortunately, what happens is, as content creators, the game kind of passes you by, and that's kind of what has happened to him. No disrespect to the guy. I don't think he's a bad guy or anything. He has good information, but it kind of seemed like he took a little bit of shot at them when it's like, well, as a content creator, your strategy is just a little bit antiquated to do what guys are doing. For example, No Fugazi is collaborating with a lot of younger creators. Free agent lifestyle. He might be like almost in his late 40s, early 50s. When the Manosphere was kind of hot, he was out there with a lot of people, 21 Convention. I think he was out there with Donovan and stuff like that. But since the Manosphere has kind of died, these other guys like No Fugazi, he's a tweener. So basically, with guys who are tweeners, he's so flexible, going back and forth between different elements of the black community. So a guy like No Fugazi is young enough, or at least flexible enough to be on the Tonight's Conversation show. He can go out and go to Hardly Initiated. And Coach Greg Adams is just kind of doing the same thing they've been doing the last 5 or 6 years. So I don't know why that was a shot at a guy like No Fugazi. A lot of the stuff is strategy. Now, are you going to tell me that No Fugazi is as knowledgeable in this stuff as Greg Adams? No, of course not. I wouldn't say that. But I see a lot of the guys are just kind of stuck and their growth kind of stops. And that's because they don't have a whole lot of investment in this business. Look at Donovan Sharp. Donovan Sharp is not the most unknowledgeable guy. He's somewhat knowledgeable in this, as far as, being in the red pill and how women can do certain things. But Donovan is not good in this business. That's just the reality of it all. He's just not good in this business. So again, I thought that was kind of unfortunate that he would just, you can't get as many subscribers as me live, which doesn't really matter because he's, he has a different strategy that's pulling. So, I don't even know why that was coming from. But again, it seemed like a little bit of haterade because No Fugazi has been able to grow his audience, and Coach Greg Adams, who has picked a different way of doing things that is not as good as how No Fugazi has done it, is a little bit upset with that. But all in all, I did overall agree with Greg Adams and what he had to say about both of these guys for the most part. I thought that it was a good debate. I don't want to disrespect Yada Awakening and call him a corny. I thought some of the things he did were out of pocket. Same thing with David Cooley. Some of the things he was doing was out of pocket. And I think overall, David Cooley, from the videos that I've seen, held a superior advantage in basically his poise during the interview. Now, did both of them make extremely good points? Absolutely. But I do prefer David Cooley from what I've seen so far. Yada was good, but he was a little bit over emotional and, trying to throw a lot more insults and things like that. And Greg Adams was throwing insights at the both of these guys, which, I found that interesting. Not to say that at points they didn't deserve it, but again, taking that shots at Cooley because he's doing what I would say is, I won't say he's doing better than Greg, but I will say he's getting more notoriety than Greg because Coach Adams is not moving around. Coach Adams is not that visible anymore in what's left in the space. And then the space is also not as good as it used to be. The space fell apart. So he don't have as many opportunities to collab. Whereas a guy like No Fugazi is out there debating different communities. Tonight's Conversation, Hardly Initiated. And another thing too, I want to say, Coach Greg Adams, it's not really, he's a black creator, but like Hardly Initiated couldn't call him because Coach Greg Adams doesn't really have what we consider a black audience. Whereas a guy like Cooley, who is even married to or with a white girl, he resonates more with the black audience because he's still kind of close to that. Whereas Coach Greg Adams doesn't really identify stuff on black or white, and Fugazi can get into that, and he leans into that. It gives him more opportunity. So if you have a black dominated show, you're not going to call Coach Greg Adams. You're not going to do that. You're going to lean on somebody more close to the culture that you might think, which is No Fugazi. And that's what guys are doing. Tonight's Conversation, they're seeing him more resonating with a younger audience than I say Greg Adams, who's just, streaming every day. And not to say he doesn't have good information, because he does. He's just, again, the way that he's trying to stay in the business or grow the business, he's not going to have opportunities doing the way he's doing it. So again, I don't have any problem with Coach Greg Adams or anybody else. He made some strong points. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Drunk. Appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.